Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today you're going to be seeing one of the craziest projects I've ever come up with, transform into reality. The paper I'm showing you was the original concept of this beast, created one day when I was bored in the ninth grade. There are going to be many obstacles in this project, but I'm excited to show you how I did it. The entire project took me years to finish, so the content was difficult to piece together. I turned the 8 hours of video into 42 minutes for your entertainment. Enjoy and let me know what you thought. Here is day one. Gonna go ahead and strip all of this stuff out of here so that we can get to the bare frame. A problem we're gonna run into is I wear size 13 shoes, so I'm making this to accommodate me. So basically up until the wheel has to be for my feet. Maybe I can break it. Yep.
About 15 minutes before I need you.
Yeah. Alright, she's chopped. Let's see if my shoe still fits in this vicinity. Make it longer. We'll double it. We'll make it 4 inches so I have enough room for plus another 8 or 9 inches for the thing. So let's see. 4 plus 8 is 12. So if we make it a foot long, it'll be about that. I think that's good enough for me. Gives us enough room for our foot to go back a little bit, and the engine will sit about right here. Cool. By the way, the engine is 8 inches at least, so I can mount it. Alright guys, it's the next day. I didn't think I was gonna have to pull out the cardboard to start diagramming things, but I guess I have to. Cut out a foot long, 3/4 inch tubing, and I'm kind of just seeing how much I have to bend it on the Harbor Freight bender, so that this wheel right here can fit on the back. Don't know. I don't know. I have an idea, but it needs to, those pieces have to bend out a little bit, and I'm gonna figure out how much they have to bend out right now. Alright, so I also brought the engine out, and this is what it'll kind of look like when we're done in the back anyways. So I'm gonna keep this really low to the ground so that center of gravity and whatever, it'll be better. But you can see it ends about there where the foot is. That will be where the engine goes, and then this part's gonna sit back just a little bit more. You'll probably have about 4 inches away from the engine, and that'll give us enough room for the exhaust and stuff. But what I'm gonna do is make a plate that comes off of here, and it goes up so that this part is just a few inches off the ground like it was stock, and that will look sick. Yeah, that's a good angle right there. So now we'll do the opposite and get that angle in. Make sure we can still get it.
What are you making?
This is a Razor scooter I was telling you about.
That's right.
And I'm putting that engine on it. And it's gonna have this size wheel on it. I just lined it all up on a piece of wood and now I'm gonna weld it so it's all even.
Pretty smart.
This is just
So obviously one wheel goes between them forks, right?
yeah, I have to cut that and resize it and everything. And then this back part's, I have this 90-degree kind of squared right here, welding these on. And then I'm gonna have a bracket that goes up so that this is 2 inches off the ground but still has giant wheels.
I can't wait to see that. Better yet, I can't wait to see you ride. It's not gonna have any brakes, right?
It'll have brakes. It'll have disc brake on the back. Make sure this is still square. The right one. Ran out of welding wires, so we gotta go to the store. And I'm also going to get some more metal so we can make some brackets and stuff. And do the front steering part still. But this is kind of what it looks like right now. I got all the corners on this side done. Just gotta grind them down to make them look good. But after that, grind these down, we'll make brackets, and then we'll figure out the steering. That's probably gonna be last because I don't feel like doing that right now. Alright, so went to the store, got some more metal, this metal and welding wire, and we got it all welded up, but we gotta grind it still. Just kind of test fitting, I guess. We'll also weld that all the way up too because we're not gonna change that now. So my plan here is to take, I have 2x4s, the 2-inch side is facing up. So I can put this 2 inches off the ground. And I'm planning to put this piece up here and then drill a hole for a shaft to go right here. And it'll kind of look like that. We're gonna have to support it a bit, so I'll figure out how to do that. think we'll have to support this with something. Guess we'll find out. Alright, we gotta be very careful about this part. About to put the flat bar on. Kind of like I gotta line up the wheel with this so that I get it right. Alright, so one's going right here. Boom, just like that. And one is going right there. As long as we have it at a constant height on this side, around the same distance, then we'll be good. So I'm going to get all of this ready so that when I weld it, it'll be good. Go straight to the welding. Just like that. Now before I do anything, I want to make sure that these line up. And how am I going to do that? Ruler. The ruler up here, that's about against this, it's right under 4 inches. And on this mark, it is also right under 4 inches. Now when we get to this point, right here, make sure I'm not on anything. Seven eighths, or 7 7/8. 7 3/4, and then that one just almost 1/8 of an inch too high, so I can push it down just a little bit and see what that gives. That's 7 1/2. I'll bring it back up. And that is 7 3/4 exactly. Make sure that this is the same again. 7 3/4, almost 9 inches. how we were planning it. That comes a little closer. Alright. Good. Now we can weld this one up. It's not coming apart, say that. So I just took my beautiful Hello Kitty ruler and I measured, this is about 8, it doesn't really matter about these measurements, but this length is about 8.5 inches, and that's about 6.5 inches on this parts bike that I have. And then we got about 8 inches of clearance here until it hits the bars, and we got about 6.5 here, and it'll go over 6.5 there, so we're good there. This whole plate is perfect. It would fit perfectly onto here and it would look beautiful. There are already drilled holes in it, but they won't fit the engine, so my plan is just drill my own holes so that it'll fit on there. I've done it on plenty of mini bikes, so it should be walk in the park. Just got to cut that out, and then we will glue it onto there. We got it. Hopefully it's not bent. This will be enough to keep it together, and if we ever need to move it, then we're good. As with everything I do, I always got to do it the hard way, and figured out that it's going to be really difficult to steer, if at all, if I have the big wheel right in front of it. It's just going to try to slide the wheel around instead of actually rotating it. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this off and either move this up probably about right here and then weld this on there so that it goes over the big wheel. That will keep our height. Or I can make a new thing with its own, because this, I might have messed this up actually. It's really hard to rotate now. I might take like a BMX bike thing and put that on there. See what we can do. I had such a difficult time drilling these holes, you wouldn't even believe it. Broke this in half trying to like press it against the board, and it just broke in half. Which is crappy wood anyways, but I was not expecting that. And then this morning I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna see how long it takes with one little drill bit to do it. And it went through immediately. I had it on the ground though. Also, one thing to mention is that I ended up breaking, my neighbor actually came over and helped me out. And we snapped a cobalt drill bit. You know how hard those things are to break? They're expensive stuff. So now I owe him a couple drill bits, and I ended up getting it myself with my eBay kit of, it was like a $10 kit of all of these drill bits, and they're working just fine. Even if you break one, you have 50 more to go. So the next thing we're gonna do is, I guess we can put the back wheel on, see what that looks like right now. Is raise it up and have the thing go over the wheel. It's probably the only way it's gonna work. Check this out. That is perfect. Oh my God. That is just great. Wow. And don't worry about the little, see how close it is to the engine? We can probably move it up a little bit. And I'm gonna put a chain tensioner so it never has to be adjusted anyways. This is great. This is amazing, guys. I can't believe this is happening.
I smacked myself in the face. Okay.
We have to let that cool down a lot, because if it gets too hot, the bearings inside here will seize up. I will explain this a little later, but I wanted to note that for the steering, me and my neighbor figured out how to make a functional steering for the scooter. We basically expanded the original steering to accommodate a 6-inch mini bike wheel. Alright guys, so basically I kind of skipped through a few things, sorry about that. We had to get the cut between these two angles right here parallel with the angle at the bottom. So we drew that out on here compared to a square. And then we found the distance we need between these two pieces, and we decided that instead of cutting a circle into it, which will make it weaker, or cutting it in half and welding it on the side of this, we were gonna weld a bar onto it and then have this welded onto the bottom of that, so that we have a full thing of bead and make it stronger. We had to make sure that these were lined up after we welded it, which was pretty difficult considering we're also welding 7/8 to 1 inch, and they both have different thicknesses. We had to do about, I think it was 4 inches and a quarter of steel onto this to extend it, which would be let us have 2-inch clearance like we've wanted. I had them sitting on those blocks, and then we sat this on, put the shaft through, and it connected to the wheel. So now I'm gonna fill these welds in, make sure it's really strong right here and right here, because that's where all the load is going, right there. And then we'll make a bead, we'll center that little part right there with that hole, and I'll determine what angle I need the wheel at. We'll weld that, tack it, weld it more, and then we'll be able to set up the engine. We'll do the side first. And put the shaft through here so we know that it stays. This is the frame fully extended, and will not be extended any further. A little hint to think about. Will this support my body weight? These two parts bending down when I step on it, like it touches the floor with my weight. So what I think I'm gonna do is Alright, so I made an oopsie before with this razor scooter. I made it 2 inches off the ground, which was not the best choice because I wasn't considering in my weight on it. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut it somewhere, probably towards the top or maybe towards the bottom, I don't know. We're gonna cut it somewhere and I'm gonna chop it down so that we raise it to 4 inches off the ground. Check it out, guys. Beautiful. Making spacers today for the front and rear wheel so we can get that all set up. How do you measure if the chain will be aligned when you try to drill your holes for your engine mount? What you want to do is get your square, put it in the keyway of your engine shaft, and then press your ruler, a flat ruler, up against your sprocket so that it's even. Wait for it to stop shaking and look on the inside to see if it's straight. That will align your chain perfectly straight. Especially with these very custom built projects like this Razor scooter project, you got to do stuff like this to get perfect measurements when not a lot of things that you made were perfect. Razor scooter's all set up. It's got the chain on it, the tensioner, the clutch, everything's set up. I'm gonna start trying to, I'm gonna put all the finishing welds down, like for this motor plate, and support it in other ways, and then we'll paint it. So I just discovered that on the original Razor scooter, this was the brake lever, and there's a button in there that presses in, and I followed this, open that up, and I followed this, and I'm guessing this is what stops the motor when you press the brake, so that if you hold the throttle in, it's not gonna work. So I'm thinking we may be able to make some brake lights on the Razor scooter. Oh, that would be crazy. I'm gonna rig something up to see if this would actually work, and if so, boom. Alright, so I realized a couple things by rigging this little thing up is that when you depress it, we're gonna have to figure out a way that when it depresses it turns on, because when I set it all up, the light comes on. But that's a problem because we want it to come on when we press it like this. I used a piece of exhaust tubing and thin steel to make a base to slide the air filter onto. Once I knew that was going to work, I drilled the hole studs in the intake hole. Then I cut some extra pieces to seal off the backside. The welding on this was difficult because of the thin metal, but I got it done. Stuffed the fat cold intake on it and called it done. Next up is the exhaust we'll be putting on here, aka the straight pipe. I used the original muffler flange drill bit to make the hole wide enough to put my inch-wide tubing. I bent the tubing with my Harbor Freight bender and welded the tube to the flange. Make sure if you do this, you don't weld your stud holes and shove the pipe onto the flange to create a solid seal before you weld. Here's the finished product. Absolutely obnoxious. Somehow I am going to make a throttle cable assembly so that this can pull back from one of these cables. See what happens. Alright, my idea is to put a bolt hole right here, make this about half the size it is now, put it at an angle, weld something horizontal coming off here, and have a nut and bolt set up so that the throttle cable can come here, go through there with a nut stopper, or like a throttle cable stopper, and it'll be able to pull. See what happens. I used a tap to start a through hole in this bolt. I got lucky it was kind of centered. I then drilled a hole to fit my bolt through in a thin metal sheet. I pieced it to the metal I showed you before and welded it where I thought it would work. I drilled a slightly larger hole in the bolt head to hold the throttle cable. Made the plate super tight when I installed it to the engine, and here she is. Now onto the funny part. I cut out some pieces of scrap metal I had to create a bracket on the scooter. I welded those parallel to each other and used the leftover scrap metal to make a mounting surface over the wheel. This looks sketchy, but surprisingly held well, and I could lift the entire back end by those welds. I put a brake light on the end and wired it to a brake lever with a proper switch in it. The wiring was a mess, but I cleaned it up. Here's a functional brake light. Also, I want to note that I added a return spring for the throttle setup. Now it won't hit the exhaust. Gonna put spacers in there and call her done. Easy. We're testing out the Razor scooter. It's so sketchy, and the throttle's all like sketchy too, so that's weird.
Damn, so my oh shit, my boat. You good? No. And then the second one. Philip, many thoughts about the universe mimicking our brain. The observable universe is expanding, and is theorized to look like cranial arms. Felt like I was bathing in the moonlight. Interesting. You want to see something crazy?
We are literally the universe itself.
Yeah. We're the universe expressing itself. Yeah.
We figured out that it's not something created by atoms. It is atoms. They are atoms.
Yeah, it has to be matter. From
It
your
has to be
logic.
matter, yes.
From your logic, it has to be matter.
But what matter is it?
Wait, okay, here's the thing. How do we know our logic is logic?
Maybe you just go deeper than I do.
Oh, and then that was awareness. That's how we understood awareness.
Yeah. What did you mean by that? Because I couldn't
question.
understand you when you were talking about it.
That's a very good question.
I don't know. I don't remember that. Yo. This is dope. Maybe I should do like a little close up. Did you get this from me, Jimbo?
Yeah, Jimbo.
Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh.
It's beautiful. Not sponsored by Nutella. Alright, let's see if she starts up after all this time. It's been a while. It's probably been over a year. Oh, really? Already? That's insane. These are the guys that are probably getting it from me.